always encourage people to like start your own thing. Even if the audience is small, it's your audience. I see it with people in media that haven't done that, haven't carved out their own brand. When something changes and that ground fall, is taken away from underneath your feet, then there's nowhere else to go.
More than ever, you can't just interview someone or get behind the camera and kind of spiel. You have to have, I think, a unique angle, and you have to do something different to stand out. We were interviewing a lot of super successful people, and the only reason I got the interview was because I'd say, do you want to be on the front cover of my magazine?
I remember our first guest was Larry Imda, and he was looking at us and he was kind of like, oh, where's all your equipment? And he was like, oh, you record on a mobile?
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah.
Hello guys, I'm Heen and welcome back to the RØDE Video Podcast, where we meet podcasters, filmmakers, recording artists and content creators making moves in the creator economy. Joining us today is Nathan Chan, the force behind Foundr and host of the Foundr podcast, where he interviews the world's top entrepreneurs.
Thank you for having me.
We have Matty J, one of Australia's biggest media personalities, blending entertainment and authenticity with his podcast, Two Doting Dads.
That was a great intro.
And Claudio Fabiano, a seasoned SBS sports broadcaster, podcaster, and co-founder of the I Want It Yesterday studio. Hi.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
No, thanks for having me.
So guys, you all are in the same space, but you all do different things. Can each of you give me an elevator pitch as to what that is? Who wants to go first?
All my content, both podcasts and socials, pretty much is centered around being a dad. Anything that is parent related is pretty much what I talk about and do video content on. So the realities and the chaos of parenting and heroing the mistakes that we will make as parents, even though we're all very well intentioned and we love our kids, and being honest about the hardships of being a mum and a dad.
A lot of the content I face is sports and sports culture, subculture that kind of fuels why people are so passionate about sport. But I think from my company, I Want It Yesterday's point of view, it's just that enabling people to create premium content without all the barriers that I guess traditional media had set up for people that want to get into this space.
Yeah, for me, I started Foundr as a magazine. I didn't have any money and just started interviewing successful founders. And part of that magazine, I used to put the audio versions of the interviews in the magazine because it was digital. And then as time went on, I turned that into a podcast. And then as time went on, became an education, coaching platform. And so, yeah, really what we do at Foundr and what I do is kind of really unpack what it takes to build and grow and launch a successful business and really try and demystify it for people.
Mm-hmm. So it happened organically for you. Yeah. In the process, you found it in the process. At what point did you realize, oh, there's something in that, like the traction? Was it the viewership, the numbers?
Yeah, I think for me, I just kind of had to will it. Like, it's funny, offline, Matt was saying, were podcasts like around 10 years ago? Was that a thing? I remember when I started my show, literally 12, 13 years ago, I remember thinking, there's so many podcasts. Am I too late to the game?
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy. And I remember the first podcast, microphone and controller, I went and got a Rode podcaster mic. And that was like, there was only like 3 you could choose from. But back then, yeah, it was crazy. Like podcasts were a thing.
So how were people reacting when you were like, I'm going to do a podcast 12 years ago? Because even now, it's like still, people are still being educated on it. Back then, and it must have been completely foreign.
Yeah, I do remember like friends, like in Australia, so big part of Foundr audience, the people I interview all in America. I used to do it remote via Skype.
Wow.
Interview via Skype.
Skype, remember Skype?
Yeah, that no Zoom. I remember Tony Robbins, his Skype name was like Mr. Wonderful or something. So amongst friends and like local community, it was kind of a bit of a novelty. But around the world, globally, it was a bit of a thing, man. And now it's just absolutely blown up.
Yeah. Do you think the US market was first foot in the door there? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. There was no Spotify. It was really Apple. And you really kind of just optimize for whatever you could on Apple.
Yeah. What have you noticed, Claude?
Well, I was just going to say, for that point, like you've been doing it for so long, do you think that there are people today, because I still have conversations, people come into our studio and aren't sure whether they're too late to the party now, but you thought you maybe were, and then you've built this successful product over years. Would you give advice to people today that it's still not too late? Like there's still so much room?
Yeah, there is, but I think more than ever, you can't just interview someone or get behind the camera and kind of spiel, unless you're like super media trained. Like you have to have, I think, a unique angle, and you have to do something different to stand out. It's not as easy as it was to get cut through.
Okay.
Like in the early days, for me, like we were interviewing a lot of super successful people, and the only reason I got the interview was because I'd say, do you want to be on the front cover of my magazine?
Yeah.
And then from there, that's how I really grew the show, because we used to have unique guests. But now, all those really famous guests, they all want to be on the shows, right? So it's harder to get that cut through.
Yeah. I think it's really cool having you here, but then like your concept with you and your co-host is like people come to listen to you. And what I'm finding is a lot of people starting podcasts like based on guests now in today's day and age, and it's hard to keep that fire going for so long. Whereas when you are the show yourself and you have a guest, you know, every second, third, fourth ep, whatever, but people come for you and your co-host, I think that's probably a lot more sustainable going forward, don't you reckon?
Yeah, I think we started out, Two Doting Dads has been running for about 3 years now. We're about 200 eps in. And I think it was 6 months of just doing a Wednesday episode, which was like a catch up between two parents, me and Ash, my co-host. And then we were like, oh, we want to have more volume of episodes. You know, we're one of the few podcasts that only did one episode a week. So we were like, oh, naturally we'll just do an interview style. And a lot of people were like, it's good, but we just prefer you and Ash. Like obviously Ash is someone who's become my best mate. We've got really amazing chemistry, and we can kind of talk about anything and everything. And then when you have guests, sometimes we know the guests, sometimes it's just you're meeting them, you have a half an hour chat. We do a quick call pre-record to flesh out a bit of a skeleton of what the episode is. But, you know, it's like a first date. You're trying to build the chemistry as you're talking about some pretty vulnerable topics. Normally we might get like in total an hour and a half with someone. Half an hour of that's the kind of offline chat. Our record. So that, you know, to have that chemistry, it doesn't quite match what Ash and I have. So we probably get 20% more downloads and listens on our Wednesday episode with just me and Ash. I used to work at Nova back in the day. We had a radio show, and I can't remember who said it, but I remember there was like an executive somewhere, and he said, it's chemistry, not content. He's like, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. If you and your host are genuinely having a good time, you're genuinely laughing, you can guarantee that your listeners are going to laugh as well. So many times where I'll be driving and I'll be laughing along kind of subconsciously to the joke, not actually knowing exactly what the nuts and bolts of the joke was, but it's nice to hear someone else laugh, and as a listener, you enjoy that as well.
For each of you, when you were first getting into media, how did you figure out what your lane was? Because some of it can just be trial and error, or it can be strategy. How did you figure it out?
For me, honestly, I wanted a career change, and I came up with this crazy idea to start a digital magazine, and I did it on a budget, and I had no money, and I wasn't going to hire a host, so I just naturally started interviewing people, and over time I built my confidence up, but I was absolutely hopeless, and just got better over time.
Do you ever watch your old stuff?
No, too embarrassing. Too embarrassing. Too cringeworthy.
How about you?
I think like, you know, this creator world, very much you see when people's authentic passions come through. And so for me, I was growing up as a footballer, as in soccer footballer. So I had some couple years overseas, and I was going through this period where it wasn't really working out for me. So I didn't know what to do with myself. And I think often when you're in that like high performance environment, it's kind of like it's either everything or nothing. People don't educate you that you've done this all your life. There's a lot of other silos you can put that passion into. So I had all the connections. I knew a lot of professional players, coaches, everything. So the first thing I did was an interview for a charity actually, with a famous footballer in Australia, and they liked the fact that it wasn't so media trained. I never had any media training, and that, you know, I think I was lucky in a way to come through in a time when people wanted the authentic conversation, not the pro thing, you know, because I couldn't do that.
You had that skin in the game, like you had done it. So you were on the inside, and then you had all the knowledge and the skill, and then to step into like a presenter role, like into media, you said you didn't have any training, so you just learned on the job? Yeah, because I had a few producers early doors say to me, don't go get trained. Okay. Like they were like, don't do it, because you don't want to be like everyone else, just kind of.
It must be weird that if you've played soccer before, you're like, well, You want to get better, you get trained, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, that's a bit of a juxtaposition.
Yeah, it is weird. But at the same time, I think like that competitive edge of wanting to be better, like I think I've always been my own harshest critic. I think a lot of us are in media. So, you know, you watch yourself back, you listen, and people tell you did really well, but then you see the little things you did wrong. It's the same as playing sport, you know? So I think I always tried to, I like watching presenters from all around the world. That's a good thing with like, I work a lot in football. There's so much football around the world. So I'll watch other languages, other markets, see how they do it, try and do something like that. But I think, all in all, it's just about being authentic and trying to get the best out of the guests that I work with. I think there's sometimes too many robots in traditional TV, and it's just like, how do I just soften this so that they show more of their personality? Because there's so many of them, like in the green room before, they're awesome, and in the moment the lights and the cameras are on, they feel as though they have to go into their shell. I think athletes should be allowed to show more of their personality.
I kind of cheated my way into working in media. I used to be in marketing and do events and sponsorship, and then I went on a show called The Bachelor, which was about like 8 or 9 years ago, I think now, where I met my wife. And when the show was on for 3 months, it's a bit of a like, I guess you get thrown in the deep end of like learning how to do interviews, and, you know, you get really comfortable being around cameras. Kind of thought I might have the golden ticket to working in media, and they kind of said, oh, you should just go back to working in marketing, which I did. So then when the show was then on air, I was still working in an agency. As I had my last meeting at Channel 10, I was out the door and someone tapped me on the shoulder, and it was a producer who worked on a show called The Living Room, which used to be on a Friday. And Chris Brown used to host a show called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. So he would be over in Africa for a while, and they said, is there any chance you want to fill in and do some travel content for The Living Room? And as a kid growing up, like I used to love Getaway.
Dream job. That was always
that's a dream job.
I think like it's one of these, like being a professional athlete or being like a travel reporter is always like, you know, what everyone dreams of. So then I just kind of got thrust into it. And then after that, got a job at Nova. And I was like, man, this is pretty easy. This is like,
got this in the bag.
Yeah, this is like, I thought this was hard. And so then my lane was travel content. So my socials were pretty solid. So we'd do a lot of work just in socials, still did a lot of work I ended up getting a travel show called Luxury Escapes.
And know it.
We had that. And then COVID came and derailed everything.
Yeah.
So travel was obviously, I still remember when I was like a week away from leaving for season 2 of Luxury Escapes, and COVID was just kind of rearing its head, and my bag was half packed. And I remember speaking to my wife, and I was like, do you think it's gonna, like, what do you reckon? And then very quickly I realized that was never going to happen, and then ended up having my first daughter and was in lockdown, and my radio show got cancelled, and the travel show obviously got cancelled. And so then I just started talking about being a parent and focusing on my socials. And then that's when I kind of realized that, there's a real huge appetite for parents online to just laugh about being a mum and a dad.
Was there a moment, this is for all of you, was there a moment where you realized this is what my audience, what people respond to from me? Like, was there a moment where you're like, oh, this seems to be working in my content?
I think for me, because I was trying to build a brand beyond me, so I kind of used myself as a vehicle before personal branding was a thing, and I just kind of put myself out there and doing shows and creating content before creating content was a thing. My first big break was getting an interview with Richard Branson.
Wow.
And it wasn't a video or an audio interview usual to the podcast. It was a Q&A, but because I could use that front cover story, I made it free. And I used to plaster that everywhere to build the Foundr brand and the name and the reputation of the brand. And over time, I think that really resonated, that I got cut through and built out the brand. That was, I think, probably my big break to kind of go, you know what, this is something I can do as a career. Because I started it on the side whilst working in my day job. I was working in IT support. And it took about 14 months to really go, you know what, I can go all in, and left my job.
How did you go about getting a guest like that?
I think the biggest hack for anyone that has watching this, that has an interview show and you want to get the biggest celebrities, the most hard to reach people, it has to be, you say, do you want to be on the front cover of my magazine?
Yeah.
Ego, tap into the ego.
Like who wouldn't want that? And so that's how I've always done it. Plus, a big hack is the Amazon coming soon list. If someone's writing a book, they're usually, if they're famous or a thought leader, they're a published author, And those publishers, they usually submit all the books that are coming soon. So if you can get and see, like, let's just say you're interested in food, order all the big food books coming, then you just reach out to the publisher and you'll get on the list before anyone, because they all, like, they want to promote their book. They do a tour.
Tip.
So those are my two best that I've been able to get that cut through. But as I said, over time now, it is quite normal for super successful founders, CEOs, people that are super time poor to go on podcasts more than ever. Like, it was only a few years ago, I remember I was in Bali and it was like a massive thing that Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan, right? And I remember stopping and watching that. But now he's on so many podcasts.
Yes.
Like, it's just normal, right? I remember it was a massive thing, Mark Zuckerberg. So more than ever, I've found that, yes, it is more difficult in the space to differentiate yourself, but more than ever, it's the norm of, like, if you want to build influence, you go on certain podcasts. Like, look at the presidential election, right? Like,
yes,
crazy.
it has such cultural cachet now.
Yes.
What about you, Claude?
I think for me, getting into sports media was kind of like an unknown world. So I'd go into broadcasters and, I'd do the job, but you think that people are just watching because they love that sport and you just happen to be the person communicating that sport, but you don't realize that some people actually want to know what you have to say, until I created just a TikTok series of just like football histories, but a little bit more quirky and funny and like a little bit unfiltered as well in the things I'd say about it. And they were only like 60 to 90 seconds. And all those videos were averaging like between 1 and 2 million views on my TikTok. And it grew in a time that people, just coming out of COVID, a lot of people consuming TikTok. I grew from 0 to like a 100K audience very quickly in a couple of months. And that's when I realized, like, people actually care what I have to say about the sport, not just because I'm on that channel. And it happened maybe accidentally, but then in turn, things change in the industry. Like Matty said, things that you can't prepare for. And then if you have an audience yourself, that's your safety net. You can always land on something new. You can sell your own deals. You can create your own shows. And I see it with people in media that haven't done that, haven't carved out their own brand. They are just, I guess, a voice for a broadcaster or a platform. When something changes and that ground fall, is taken away from underneath your feet, then there's nowhere else to go. Yeah. So I think, I always encourage people to like start your own thing. Even if the audience is small, it's your audience, and that's so powerful.
Yeah, they're coming for you.
Yeah.
I think you just touched on something interesting, like multiple channels, like TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. Yeah. Do each of you find one does really well compared to the others, or is it consistent across all?
I think TikTok's pretty clever, and I think they're very aware of when people sign up to the platform brand new, you get like a bit of a springboard by the algorithm. I can almost I don't know if it makes it sound like I'm wearing a tinfoil hat here, but I can almost guarantee if you join TikTok, one of your first 10 videos will go viral because they want you coming back for more. It feels incredible getting a viral video.
Yeah.
And if they give you that little taste early on, that it's like that first hit. So Two Doting Dads, we launched all platforms at the same time for socials. At the moment, 3 years in, Instagram is just shy of 100,000, TikTok is 40,000, and YouTube, so shorts and long form, given that we also only launched long form, like full episodes recently, but we sit at around 1,000 subscribers. And all that content is pretty similar. I know people should say, well, you should tailor the content specific to the platform. And I'm like, I kind of disagree with that these days. I think it's all, some videos may do well on TikTok or not Instagram, but I think like if something goes viral on one, you kind of guarantee it's going to go viral on the others. So yeah, my gripe is YouTube growth, I think, is incredibly hard now compared to others.
Do you try shorts as well?
We do shorts also. So we do every episode of our podcast, we cut down to maybe 3 to 5 videos that we release as shorts, plus we do skits as well, in addition to the long form content on YouTube.
Because I've got a whole company around the show, like there's many other facets of content and talent that we work with, and content that's being put out under the brand. So we do see sometimes that it is platform related. Like for us, like, LinkedIn can be a really strong channel for a certain guest or a certain kind of piece of talk because it's very career focused. But for us, our strongest is Instagram. I agree, Matty, with YouTube. YouTube is very up and down. Like we were on a real tear last year and now it's just died. died, and we're trying to work out what the hell happened. Like we're averaging, sometimes 100, 150,000 views, sometimes 200,000 views a video interview, and then now like to get 5, like it's just so weird. It's very up and down.
I feel like the algorithm is listening to. I just need to say that YouTube, I love you. TikTok as well. You're all great.
Yeah. We need some help. Yeah. So it really depends. But Instagram is our strongest. Funny enough, in the early days when TikTok was launched in Australia, they paid us to put content on there.
What?
Back in the day.
Shut up.
Did you say TikTok?
Back in the day,
Yeah.
maybe I shouldn't be saying this, but
That's
yes,
good.
they come to us and they said, you guys are killing it on Instagram. We want you to absolutely crush it on TikTok. And I had our social media team, these young, hungry guys, and I think they gave us a lot of money. And we just started pumping content. We got to like 100,000 followers in like a couple of months. And then the guys lost steam. And now it's not a strong channel for us. But I think for us, it depends on our audience as well. I think, Instagram is a strong one. YouTube, it's okay. It's up and down. TikTok, not really.
But you got to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
You've got to be everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? You don't know what's going to pop off.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think
It's like every post is a pull of the pokey lever. You don't know what's going to go viral and what's not. So it's better to post than to not post.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
When something does, do you take notes and try to replicate, or do you think, let's not milk this too long, we'll try something new?
Definitely. There's little formulas that we see does really well. Obviously, front end hook is super important. Something like, hey, this is controversial, go into the story. You know that if you're going to hook someone in the first 3 seconds, you're going to get them for a larger portion of the video. As a parenting podcast, what does exceptionally well is a question. As an example, should you be able to circumcise your child, yes or no? We know that people are going to pop off in the comments.
We'll fight.
Who's right and who's wrong?
Because you've worked across broadcast with SBS and built your own studio.
Yeah.
What did working in sports media teach you and then allowed you to segue into starting your own studio and business?
Yeah, I think when you go into broadcast studios, you see, traditional media, be it radio, TV, or whatever, you can see that there are issues and that the golden days of television and radio and stuff are behind us. It doesn't mean they have to reinvent themselves a little bit. So you can see with the amount of redundancies happening, with the amount of tightening of cash in these places, and when you come in fresh and you see it, you go, okay, well, there's probably a lot of things in here that don't have to be that way. There's probably a lot of money spent on things that don't need to be that glitz and glammy, do they, to really get the same effect. So I felt like by being a presenter over there and having all these producers and fancy cameras and big studios, I would always have a look. I was always known for I'd be looking at what cameras they were using, or I'd go and check out their lights, and then I'd go back.
What do you mean?
Claude's going to steal something.
And then I go back to my business partner and be like, they're using this and this, what do you reckon? But essentially it's like learning from that and saying, okay, how can we create something much more efficient, much more nimble, that's going to service way more people, because not many can afford to go into that type of studio and create that type of content.
Yeah.
Even now a lot of the broadcasters I worked for first as a presenter, I now have the luxury of they're coming to use my studio because they need shoulder programming, they need TikTok content, they need YouTube content, they need podcasts, right? It's not just the old days of one magazine show a week, plan next week, they need to be everywhere. So I think just learning from seeing the trend of traditional media and the way it's heading, and then being like, okay, how can I create a solution that sits between, I guess, entry-level content and that glitz and glam of broadcast, just kind of in the middle.
I remember our first guest was Larry Imda on the podcast, and we did it at his place, and we rocked up and had a little flight case, and he was looking at us, and he was kind of like, oh, where's all your equipment?
Yeah.
And we're like, this is it. And we record the video content just on mobile phones.
Yeah.
And I remember setting it up on a little tripod, and he was like, oh, you record on a mobile?
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah. And it's wild, someone coming from traditional media looking at the advancements and how nimble we could be with our equipment.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, oh my God, he's judging us.
Yeah.
You might have felt that way, but he might have been like, oh, is this the new way? This is the new thing.
He was really inquisitive, and we were kind of talking about how we operate and how we set up, and we only had our producer, and that was it. So we were super streamlined in comparison to what he would have been used to.
Yeah.
What's something early on that each of you tried that didn't work? And how did you handle it?
I had a podcast. My very first podcast was with Nova.
Yep.
And I was super green to audio, so I look back and I'm like, man, I was such an idiot. But we launched a podcast called The Babble, and it was with Natalie Bastingthwaite from Rogue Traders and Neighbours back in the day. And I was kind of like, holy shit, it's Natalie Bastingthwaite. I was like, you know, I kind of grew up knowing her as a big celeb. As lovely as she was, we just didn't have enough time to build that chemistry. So we kind of went into our first episode still not really having any runs on the board. We hadn't really hung out at all. So the chemistry wasn't there. We also didn't know what the podcast was going to be about. It was like, hey, we're pop culture. So like our kind of net of content was just so broad. We were trying to do way too many things. We didn't have an identity. And my wife had a podcast called Life Uncut, which was doing exceptionally well. So that was a benchmark for me for success. And the numbers came through for The Babble, and I was like, man, this is hard. We just didn't get the numbers. They were like okay, but like we wouldn't have even made the top 200 podcast list. And I remember thinking like, it's okay, like week 3, week 4, it might pick up some traction, and it just never really did get off the ground because it was like a restaurant opening up and kind of serving everything. I didn't realize the importance of having a specific lane of content and people coming to you for like one specific type of thing. I kind of thought, well, if we can appeal to as many people as possible, then we'll try and get the biggest audience possible.
I had a podcast called Born Offside, and it was a football podcast with a few friends. Like they've both gone on. One's now become a broadcaster on Channel 10, and the other one's a really successful influencer. He kind of does everything. He's not just in sport or football anymore. But we had really good chemistry. So we hit it off, the three of us, you know, and we pushed a lot of boundaries in the sports media space, challenged a lot of things, and you know, probably the major networks maybe weren't our best friend with the way we would approach things, but we ended up just I guess not being aware of what you can and can't do on social when it comes to like using rights and using things like that. And one day we woke up and all our pages were gone, like just didn't exist.
So that was a learning curve.
Well, yeah, like our TikTok was probably just shy of 100K. The IG was up over 10, and like the views were really high, and it was just all gone. We spoke to like people we knew at TikTok and at Meta, and a good friend of mine at Meta who I've known for years, she had a look and she's like, I've never seen this before. It doesn't actually exist. Like it's not even like it's been hidden. It's gone. And it turns out like we were talking about the video that did that for us. We were talking about the Premier League. It's one of the biggest, you know, leagues in the world in sport. And they had a German company which like protects them from copyright around the world. And this German company just terminated the pages.
Took you out.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we didn't know that could happen, right?
Yeah.
So then it was like decision of, do we start from scratch or do we not? And we ended up kind of going our separate ways. We still collab on things here and there. Over time it's worked out, but you know, having a successful brand and podcast that you spent a lot of time on and it's just gone because you didn't know the legalities around social. So that was a big learning for me.
It's hard to avoid. You learn on the job.
You learn as
lesson
you go.
the hard way.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just being more mindful of that type of stuff.
So how do you work now with Premier League content?
On my own personal socials, I don't do it, which is crazy because you open up TikTok and like some kids do the best edits in their room. You know what I mean? And like I'm so thankful for those edits. They're great. But at any time, those pages could get taken down. I've seen some other people, a content creator in Italy that was doing really well, got taken down as well through like Sky, who have the rights over there. So it's just one of those things that you can get lucky that they never really take you that seriously. But we were looking quite premium, like a proper show. And I think that's kind of what did it for us. I think if you're in your room talking about a game using highlights, they don't want to take you down. But if you look like you're maybe being funded or sponsored or anything like that, then they can easily do it to you.
I've tried a lot of things over the years, and the first one that comes to mind, I'm a little embarrassed to share it.
Safe space.
I had this thing in my mind for quite some time where, because I've ran the show for so long, I actually got over it and I fell out of passion with the show, and I didn't want to be the face of it anymore, and I was obsessed to like, if I ever sell Foundr, like I need to build a company where I'm fully detached. So it's embarrassing to share, but like I put up a job post around who wants my job as the host, where you can interview billionaires and all sorts of people. And I got thousands of applications all around the world. And then one of my mentors, I was like, man, I don't know how I'm going to go through this. And he said, oh, no, it's easy. I know what you do. Send a reply all to everyone and say, congratulations, you've made it to the next step. We've got a test project for you. Shoot a video on why you would be the best next host of the Foundr podcast and upload it on YouTube. Had hundreds of submissions, all these people doing the craziest stuff. And then in the end, I still couldn't part with like handing that over. And I along that process, I was like, you know what? Nathan is Foundr and Foundr is Nathan. I am so stupid if I give this away. And so I kept running the show. And then somewhere along the way, you know, my team, and then it was on autopilot for a while. And then someone on my team, like I didn't really care about because I'm really first and foremost the CEO. And so somewhere along the way, I used to have this podcast on autopilot, didn't really care, didn't look at the numbers, didn't try and grow it, just on autopilot. And then someone in my team, he just like made a few tweaks and then blew us up on YouTube for an episode. And I got my passion back for it. And now I'm really passionate. So it's nothing like what you guys have tried from a content standpoint, but me trying to get someone else to take my job. It didn't work. It did work. And
did any of them follow you up? Like,
People did. It's embarrassing. It's really, I feel bad. Like some people just spent hours. Like it's not something I'm proud of. Like I feel like an idiot even sharing it. I've never shared it, but yeah.
No, thank you so much for sharing that. It's a really great insight and something to know, because when something feels like, oh, you lose the passion or like you're failing, but you went through the process of it and then you found the light at the end of the tunnel.
I don't know if you guys find this. Do you feel sometimes that you're on this like content hamster wheel? Like you've got to come up with the next episode. You've got to do something better.
Yeah. Constantly mining your life for content.
And like you get down if you don't beat previous numbers and stuff like that. Like it can get you down. Yeah. And so for me, I just kind of was finding, I'm just going to detach from this. It's just one very small part of the company and I'm going to keep building. And so I just put on autopilot. Like the whole team were kind of like, you know, as a CEO, your team and everyone gets excited around what you're excited about. And I just wasn't that excited about it for quite a few years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did you feel that pressure because everyone's looking at you?
Yeah. And like the business went through like a lot of growth. It was kind of through that COVID period and like, you know, I just was focused on other areas. It's really tough, like trying to run a show and trying to grow that while running a business, managing staff, running all these other things. Like it actually is it's a hard juggle.
On the subject of content creation, when you come up with an idea, is it structured or does it just happen spontaneously?
I've got a 4-month-old now, so it's a little bit trickier because we're just constantly juggling for little free windows of time. But before she was born, it was pretty structured throughout the week. So Monday was always a planning day for the podcast. Tuesday is a full day podcast record. And then Wednesday is like the admin day. Thursday was then writing all the content for my socials. So anytime something would happen, like the best kind of moments or best content for socials would be off the back of a moment that was relatable. People love seeing themselves reflected back in the content they watch online. So plan them all out on the Thursday, then we would shoot on a Friday.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, that was the formula that we would like, having the structure I found was just really, really good. But prior to that, it's hard because it's, I work really well when a client is like, I need it by this date, you know, and I've got someone to answer to. So I'm like, perfect. I'm not going to miss a deadline. Like the agency side background of me kind of knows that like under promise, over deliver. The organic content is what's hardest because if you don't post it, no one's really saying like, hey, what are you doing? And for me, I know that I'm going to get more briefs if I get more eyeballs on my content. And so it's without that structure, the organic content wasn't being prioritized.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And even to what Nathan said before, like running a business at the same time as doing my own personal content. Like ultimately, when you're running a business, you're responsible for, you know, your employees, you're responsible for all these things. So that just takes priority. And I think it's a creative business as well. So you get briefs and you're working with clients and we get so bogged down and I get so bogged down in meeting client deliverables that sometimes I go weeks, months and I'm like, I haven't done any of my own content. But for me, when it is time to do that, I find I'm an isolator to get creative. Like I love just going somewhere and being on my own to get creative. Like I've always loved that. The brainstorming sessions and stuff are cool, but like when I hosted a football tournament, the Euros on telly for a month, the week before, it was in June, so it was like cold time of year. The week before I just went up to Townsville and just isolated myself at a hotel there, like just by the pool. And I just like thought of like, I went through like research of every team, but then thought of like creative ways I can do that differently. And I love that type of thing. I think sometimes if I had the luxury of being able to just like separate more often, I would do it probably a couple times a year. And just like, I think the wackiest things come when I'm most relaxed.
Yeah.
But when you are running a business, you can almost never switch off and actually get that creative because you're just stuck in processes. So that's the hard balance to hit.
So we're really trying to grow our show now. So we added a second series, which is like solo episodes, right, with me. And we banged out like 3 months worth of solo episodes. So it's just, it comes down to your project management. If you have support is always great. If you can get support and, somebody's owning it. And, if you have that cadence, like every Thursday, it just becomes a content rhythm that you just know and your community expects it as well. And if you can have that rhythm, then it's just kind of like you brush your teeth every morning and night. It becomes a habit. So, if you've got holidays, your Christmas period, all that kind of stuff, you just bank it out. You just got to bank it out.
Yeah, the algorithm, its love language is consistency.
Yes.
And it's a double-edged sword having a break over like the Christmas period, because it's nice to just detach yourself, but at the same time, you're like, I've got to try and claw myself back now to get where I was with the numbers. And, Instagram's great. It's got a little dashboard which shows your monthly views. And, we want to try and hit between like ideally 15 to 20 million views on my personals a month. And obviously it's going to drop over December when you have that break. But then there's that internal anxiety of like,
am I not going to be relevant anymore?
Yeah. Do those thoughts ever come in and you're like, oh, I've got to like stay at the forefront? Even on holidays, are you like, I need to be creating content right now?
With our podcast, we never took a break except for the week over Christmas, because we thought, well, if all the other podcasts are taking a break and we're the only podcast, one of the few that's putting out new content, maybe we can try and, claw an audience off someone else. So for the first 2 years, we didn't take a break, and then wasn't that beneficial. A lot of, people I feel like kind of without work and school, podcast listenership really drops down, we find in like early January and December. So then this period just gone, we decided to take like a proper 3-week break. And it was tough because our numbers just before December finished were really growing. And you're like, oh, we've got that momentum. We want to build on that. And then we're going to just like park it. And that's really hard. So we've just started releasing new episodes. And obviously you got to try and build up momentum back up, which is really tough because our currency is engagement. So we're always just chasing, you can never have enough views and downloads and listens.
Do the numbers drop from 3 weeks off? Like, do you see the difference in the numbers when you
Yes, we do over the Christmas break, we do best ofs.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we, on average, we might get around 100,000 downloads a month. We kind of drop down to like 75,000 when we're doing the best ofs. Yeah. And then now we're kind of like slowly building back up. But at the same, I kind of find people only listen to 2 or 3 podcasts at a time. That's kind of like, it's like watching TV series. Yeah, you can only listen and watch so many at a certain time.
Yes.
And so the anxiety is, when we're not putting out new episodes, they're going to find someone else. Yeah. And then, you're always going to have drop off.
Yeah.
So it's like, how many can you claw back?
Again, safe space. You can answer honestly. Do you ever watch your own content back to learn from yourself and like what works, what doesn't?
Yeah, sometimes it's like I'll read an email back if it's a good email. I'm like,
so
that's really, I really nailed that email. Every single podcast, we have an executive producer, but every episode, I listen back to it and might make a couple of notes. Yeah. Definitely, I'm sure it's like sport where you got to watch yourself on the field to kind of notice what are those little things that I don't know that I'm doing, but it's hindering my performance. And with content, I always watch it back.
Good. That's great. What about you guys?
For me, as soon as it's done, that's it. It's like with the team, and I've got one of these minds where I forget everything.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't even remember sometimes if I've interviewed a person or not. It's pretty bad. Like, if it's from a few years ago, right? Like, so
when the churn's so high, though, there's no capacity for you to retain it.
Yeah. So I might remember I interviewed, but I don't remember the content. So sometimes, not all the time, but every now and then, if there's like a favorite episode, I'll actually watch it back and not really remember the conversation. Be like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. It's a good thing.
Not that often. Not that often.
Is it also because do you get too in your head? Do you get hypercritical, or is it just like you just
No, so
prefer
like
not to?
as time has gone on for us, especially the past 12 months, the show has become more and more important to me. So I'm kind of moving more into like, how do we grow this? We're launching a third show underneath the banner. Like, how do we put some dollars behind it, reinvest? Like, yeah, so it's just becoming more something I'm more excited about to grow. And I can see we didn't do sponsorships for a long time, and then we really start to grow that. And so, yeah, I can see how powerful it is. It's silly, I know.
It depends what I'm doing, but I think in like a broadcast world, I do watch it back, and I think like I try and stay focused on skill. It depends what you're doing. Like if you're doing a podcast, right, people are going to like you for your personality. It's not really a skill set. But I think working in broadcast, like I always try and hone in on skill. I don't want to rely on popularity, or I think sometimes people, have a rise in popularity, some social following, and they can sometimes fall victim of just patting themselves on the back and being like, I'm good, I'm finished product now, because like people like me and they comment on my stuff. Whereas I like obsess a little bit more over the skill. So I like watching something back, being like, could have done that better, could have delivered that, used the same word I used earlier in the program. Like, why do I have to, So I've got this kind of like meticulous view on my own presenting, but that's more when I'm doing broadcast stuff. If it's like a podcast or something a lot more casual, then sometimes I'll just not listen to it after, or just enjoy it.
Claude, I don't know if you find this from doing broadcast, but when I would do stuff with, say, like Channel 10 or doing the Today Show, doing the weather or something like that, after the show, I would call the EP and I'd say like, hey, how was it?
Yeah.
And they go, yeah, it was fine. And I'm like, yeah, but
give me something.
Yeah. And I feel like with broadcast, unless there's a disaster, everyone's just got to go on to the next, onto the next, onto the next. So no one really, it was so hard to find someone other than yourself to try and critique the work and give you that advice as a mentor. Yeah. Did you find that?
I do find that. I actually think that there's a lack of that. I know that in sports broadcast, I've sometimes caught up with people who they had no idea that they were about to be replaced. For example, like because they were like, oh, every time I was doing something, they would just say it was fine. Yeah. And then they one day say, oh, look, you're not really doing the job, and replace them with someone else. And I'm like, I think there's a lack of feedback given in that environment. I think that people are so quick to just be like, yeah, all good, nothing to work on. It's like, there's never, I don't know if it's
don't worry about hurting my feelings. Just tell it to me straight.
There's always something to work on. I don't really get offended by that. Like I like feedback. I enjoy feedback. Like I think it's beneficial. If someone cares about you, if they give you feedback and want you to get better. So,
did you have any mentor?
Yeah. I had like a business mentor who I still chat to. He was actually the founder of Skins Apparel.
Oh, wow.
And he's been very involved and vocal in like world sport and like anti-doping, anti-corruption in world sport. So he's a really cool business mentor. As far as media, Mel McLaughlin from Channel 7. Mel McLaughlin,
she's great.
She's awesome. So I worked with her when I was like, it was my first like kind of TV job. I was actually like doing the TikTok for this tournament, and then they got me a bit on broadcast with her, and I was like, shit, like I watched her on TV doing sport for so many years. Like she's going to be like, who's this kid I'm partnered with? And I just had a feeling she was going to be a certain way. And then I met her on the photo shoot day, and she was awesome.
Yeah, this is why you can't make assumptions. 100%. You just don't know.
Like she was just so helpful and gave me so much advice, even on like how to deal with hate and stuff, because when you're in the public eye, you're going to get a lot of messages, things are going to happen, people are not going to like you just for the sake of it. So she really helped me through that whole process, and we still catch up regularly for coffees and that. And so she's doing so well with 7 and all her other stuff. So yeah, she'd be my media mentor. I think it's important. Have you got one?
No, I'm if anyone's listening, I'm still searching.
I'm open.
I think it's pretty competitive out there, and I think like if I was a sports reporter and you came knocking on my door and wanting advice, I'd be like, there's no way I'm helping you.
Yeah, people don't want to help sometimes. Yeah, I know. It's true, actually. It's a bit sad sometimes.
Actually, probably like, it's going to sound lame. It's my wife.
Oh, that's nice. That's not lame.
I think when I started Two Doting Dads with Ash, I wasn't looking for a podcast host at all. Ash and I had started doing some social content, and he was the one who suggested that we should do a podcast. And coming off the Babble, and I did another podcast that didn't do so well, and I was kind of a little bit burnt by podcasts, and I was like, dude, I'm just going to focus on socials. It's like where the money is, it's where my engagement is. And then he was like, that's cool, I've got another guy lined up, so don't worry about it. And I was like, who's the other guy? And I was like, let's just do a demo and we'll see how it sounds. And I was listening back to it, and my wife was listening. I had it playing on my laptop, and she was like, she'd had her podcast for a couple of years, and she has an ear for it. And she was like, that's something. Like there's something there that's making me laugh, and you should definitely explore that. And then even when it comes to interviewing, my wife is definitely, she's helped me a lot along the way because of the success that she's found.
Guys, we're going to pivot now into AI.
Okay.
For or against, it doesn't really matter. There's no wrong answers. Do any of you, each of you, use AI in your workflow?
Mine's pretty basic. I feel like my analogy of me using AI is someone who's just gotten the internet and yet I still only use like Microsoft Paint. I'm kind of using it in the most simple way possible. Sometimes like if we're running a segment and we're trying to brainstorm a few different name options, ChatGPT will be like another voice in the brainstorm session. That's kind of how we lean on it. But that's
Yeah. You use it as a tool, like just to help out sometimes.
That's it. Or we might say, give me some options for parents who have high following on social media. Spit me out some options, and then we might kind of then get that list and then fine tune it ourselves. But I'm pretty late to the party when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
Nathan, how about you?
What do you guys reckon? From what you've heard about me, do you reckon I use AI a bit?
No, you're in IT.
Yeah.
You're in IT, I reckon.
Nathan, yes.
Yeah. I'm pretty big on it, like big time. Like I could talk about. We've got a whole podcast in of itself, but I'll give a kind of few pieces that might be gold for you guys and listening. So if you're gonna do one thing, and it's really simple, there's this thing called Notebook LM. It's like native to Google, and if you've got a guest that's, you're going to interview, what you can do is you can basically grab all the articles or interviews that person's ever done and then put it into Notebook LM, and then you can get it to press play, and then there's like two people talking, like AI voices, and they basically tell you that person's story from all of that content in like 15 minutes. And it's the best.
Do you say, I want it condensed to 15 minutes, or is that?
It just does it, but then you can start asking it specific questions. And like, it's amazing to cut research down from spending like 4 or 5 hours down into maybe no more than half an hour. So that's what I work with when I'm doing guest research. That's one thing. There's so many things that I use for AI, not only from a podcasting perspective, but just efficiency, being a better founder, better leader, better copywriter, better marketer, better operator. So but that's just one. But yes, in a big way, I'm using it massively.
I'm similar to Matty. I'm not great with it, but one of my business partners is huge on it. So he keeps introducing me, and he's excited. He comes to work, he shows me a new thing, and I'm like, I get it. And I think for him, he's also my creative director. He loves just running free with that, and most of his it's helped him so much in storyboarding as well, for campaigns. It's helped him with all that. For me, I don't know. I just feel like when everyone's doing it, it's like surely everyone's going to end up doing the same thing. I like to try and I don't want my brain to be trained from a creative point of view to using AI. Like I've worked with people that they need to respond to an email and they use ChatGPT to do it, and it's like. Really? Like you could just respond to the email yourself. Like, you're not going to be able to write an email if you keep doing that. That might be a really backwards way of looking at it. But I'm similar to you, Matty. I'm just like, I feel like, we fall into this space because of your own entertainment factor, your own maybe
lens
charisma.
on content.
Yeah. And like, we're fortunate enough to be personalities in media. So it's kind of like, I want to double down on what comes out of my brain because clearly that's gotten me this far. I don't want to think like anybody else. But yeah, I don't know. Time will tell, I guess.
I think copywriting's a good one. I'm not a great writer. I take a long time to finesse my words, and I get really bogged down and waste so much time of the day trying to write like a creative concept. But I know the idea in my head. It's just being able to articulate that. So, if I can jot it down and then it can spit out me like a really nice condensed, grammatically perfect written synopsis of an idea is what I would jump on.
Yeah.
I would say, or I would encourage to think of it not as a replacement, but more of a co-pilot, and to see it as a way where you can train it to have a second brain, right? So another way that I use it is, for social content, for my solo episodes, if I do podcast episodes, I've got all of them in that Notebook LM. And then I can ask it and prompt it, what are some awesome stories that I could share relating to this? Or what could I talk about that could be controversial here about this topic? So it's just like, think of it as like a second repository or a second kind of storage where you can use it and train it over time to help you produce more content at scale. So it's not going to, I never think it will replace you, but it's really about how you can move faster, produce more, and like kind of really optimize yourself and your output. That's how I think of it.
It's like Limitless, taking the magic pill.
Yep, exactly. Yep.
What do you think about it?
Our audience, when I am on camera, they think I'm AI.
That's a compliment, right?
I don't know. Yes and no. I'm kind of like, I'm real. But yeah, I'm like you guys. I use it only a little bit, but I do think it is the future. So I want to keep up, but also maintain my human ability as well to like not lose skills, because I think if you become too reliant on it, it can just, you lose that muscle.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah. But I do say, like, we spend so much time in our day doing mundane things that, like, I'm sure the AI could just replace, and that way you could focus more of your energy on the creative, important stuff. So I do see that. I definitely do see
getting things to like 75%.
Yeah.
Because writer's block's a real thing.
Yeah.
Right? I remember before these tools sometimes take ages to like write things or come up with ideas, and like now it just kind of gets the mind turning, which can be powerful.
Do you think that audiences care if it's AI or not? I think they do, but what do you guys think?
Yeah, I can't tell if it's because the way I feel is the same as the mass audience, or if it's just because I'm from that generation of really like valuing real content. But I remember seeing an ad by Land Rover. It was around the World Cup, and it was such a bad AI host, so bad. And I watched it and I was angry. I was like,
You pointed at me when you said that. I was like, hang on.
It's not helping your case with.
can confirm she is real. But and even now when I see something go viral on socials and it's AI, and I see people don't realize that it's AI, I get annoyed.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's to me, it's cheating. Like I think, and I hope that there'll always be a priority on genuine, real content as opposed to AI produced content.
Yeah.
For me, I naturally judge someone if I see a headline or some caption or some copy where it's got the M dash, because I know they've used ChatGPT or some sort of AI. Like when you see that M dash, you always just think less of a person.
Yeah. It's like an athlete on steroids. Like, you cheated.
Yeah, exactly.
We're all doing it.
Yeah, exactly. But so I think you do, like, it's just natural response. You think differently. It's like, oh, like, why are you doing that? Like, surely you could be smart enough to remove that or like get that feel, because you can tell now. So yes, I think you definitely don't want people to know.
I wonder being at school today. You know what it's like, go to school or uni, like studying with AI. Like, I don't know, surely, because you think about, I was always big on like handwritten notes, even that. I always tried to handwrite my stuff, even though now I hardly ever handwrite. But I always thought, okay, I don't want to lose the skill of writing. A lot of like people were starting to type and do that with their notes. I was always big on that. But then now I'm wondering how students are summarizing with AI. Like, are they going to lose a whole skill set? Or maybe they'll be better for it. I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it.
I've become really interested in clipping. Are you guys familiar with clipping?
I know clipping from Bevo. I don't know if anyone follows Bevo on TikTok.
Bevo?
Yeah, he's dying.
He's in the UK, right?
Yeah, he became famous for just with the teeth. And he's always talking about clipping, and I'm like, what is this clipping business?
Yeah, so basically
Shout out to Bevo.
So basically how it works is you can run like a clipping contest where there's like these really young kids from all around the world, and you can pay per views, and it doesn't cost that much. It's really fascinating where you can put out your show and they just try and make you go really, really viral. And there's a contest and they get paid for a certain amount of views.
Is it like content farms or?
Pretty much, pretty much. So there's a lot. So we're not very good at it. So I'm not sitting here saying we're good at it. But I'm becoming more and more interested in it as a lever for growth.
Is clipping the platform or is it the technique or?
It's a technique.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A strategy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If something went viral versus slow consistency, what would you rather? A viral moment or like really great traction consistently?
For me, I think it's shifting, and I would much rather in now the near future put focus on quality content that has a longer shelf life and is going to actually, because I just think it's gone too far down the virality, and I think people are stretching themselves to go viral for some reason, and will often, look over factual, whether it's factual or not, whether it's appropriate, whether it's offensive. People will overlook all those things and just be like, I need the clicks. And I think that's really dangerous in society. And I think we're starting to lose, I know that I play mainly in the world of sports. I think we're starting to lose like that really cool depth cultural element to sports content. And it's just very much like, can I say something that's controversial about this athlete or about this team that's going to make everyone comment? And I think there's a little bit too much of that. I think that's easy and that's cheap. And I think we'll start to see this shift into like people spending a little bit longer, a little bit more time. And I think that's where that has to be driven by the sponsors, right? That has to be driven by the money. At the end of the day, if at the top they want to pay the creators that are just getting the most views and the most clicks, then everyone's going to go in that direction. But if sponsors start to go, no, hold on a second, I want quality, I care about the ethics of the content, right, and what it stands for, then you're going to have people move towards that. So they hold the keys, but I definitely think the latter. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, you like, I think, we've seen a lot of kind of people go viral and they come and go. There was one guy I really liked. He's called the Ibiza Final Boss.
Yeah.
He's really milking it. But, I think when you create a show or a podcast, it's a really intimate thing. Like you had somebody that you're listening to, you might be listening to them in your ears for like hours and hours and hours, and you build that relationship with them over time. So I think that's the power, and that's why more than ever people are starting shows. That's why more than ever, all of these companies want to sponsor shows. It's a really intimate experience. So for that reason, I think, and I look at our business, our best students and members of all of our products that we put out there, they listen to the podcast. So I think, slow and steady for sure, especially for a podcast.
We're yet to get a viral hit with a podcast.
Really?
We've never had anything.
I'm surprised by that.
Gangbusters. It's always just been a really slow, steady growth. We've had an episode kind of like have a little spike, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, you don't really get that on a podcast, do you? You don't see like a massive,
That's it. I mean, sometimes we thought with like some of our guests, they might be, but because we're not giving anything that's exclusive normally, so I don't think our product is like designed to have that virality. But with our social content, we kind of, as a benchmark, I don't know what people classify as viral, but we know we want to be getting at least one video per month hitting over 1 to 2 mil. Not that we're like chasing it, we're kind of chasing it just with like really strong content. So we're not manufacturing it, but we kind of want to have, with a viral video comes growth.
Yeah.
You kind of know that if you get a video that's going to hit 2 million views, you might get an extra 5,000 followers. Yeah. So it's really important for that longevity as well.
Looking back at each of your journeys, is there a single moment that you can pinpoint where you're like, that was the turning point? Because you've all had different journeys.
Yeah.
But can you share what your turning point was?
Yeah, it was kind of the start of my business with my 2 business partners, because we, during COVID, were creating sports content together because there was a lack of sport happening. And so we had an offer from an international broadcaster to create a show for them. So we were really rushing around to try and find a studio to do it at, because we didn't have a studio. And they gave us a deadline for the date that I had to start. I remember it was in October, and we couldn't get this studio till like December. So we went out on a whim and we lied and said that we had a studio, and we shot it in my grandma's house. She had a bedroom that wasn't being used anymore. And so we did a Bunnings job on the place overnight, not overnight, over a weekend. Painted the place black, did everything we felt. We spoke to people that had studios. We kind of soundproofed it as good as we could. The room would get so hot that the cameras would overheat. But we got the first episode out to them, and it was good enough to put on air, also because there was nothing on air. Like COVID, there was just nothing on, so they took it. And then they came just before episode 3 to see our studios, and like, we're like, we can't hide it anymore. So they actually came and visited my grandma's house. And it was like, by then they'd signed it off. Awesome. They were freaking out, as you can imagine, but it was too late because we were running. And we ended up doing 19 episodes there until episode 20. We could finally move into what is now our studios. That was our first studio that we had, and now we've got 3 there. But yeah, so that was like a big risk. We could have been like, didn't get the studio in time. But I think when you've got nothing to lose, and it's not, we didn't have a reputation at the time.
What did your grandma say about the renovation?
Loved it. My grandma doesn't really speak English either. Like, my grandma only speaks Italian, so we were just like, she just loved that we were around all the time, and all these people. She was cooking stuff.
Now it's a part of the origin story. It's a great story.
Yeah, it really is.
So can you talk to how you came up with the name for the studio?
Yeah, my beautiful mother. So one of the business partners is my brother as well. And when we were starting the business in this period and everything was just handbraking, so we couldn't get a studio in time, we couldn't find talent for things, it just felt like nothing was working. But we didn't realize we were making really good strides. And chatting to my mum, my brother was complaining about everything, so was I. And she's like, this is the problem with your generation. Like, you want it all and you want it all yesterday. Just relax. And we didn't have a name at the time. So we just kind of thought, like, we looked at each other when she said that, and she's like, I want it yesterday. And so it should be able to happen, like, just because it was just this stupid joke between us. But we ended up going to our business partner now, and we mentioned it to him, and he's like, I love it. Because we felt like it was a comment on our generation, on the younger generation, that you want everything, you want it all at the click of a finger, you want it all yesterday. Obviously, that's impossible, but maybe not. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe what's often been said as a criticism of young people can actually be a superpower. The fact that you do have this attention span, you want it all done now. You don't have to wait in line, get coffees for someone until your 30s to be on camera. You can maybe do it with your mobile phone from your bedroom when you're 18. So that's kind of the ethos.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting name for a studio. It makes you stop and think and ask about where did it come from?
But clients think it's just turnaround time. That's what they think. They think that we get the same joke, like every day we get the same joke.
Clients.
Can we get it yesterday,
If there's someone watching, listening, who wants to do what each of you do, what advice would you give them?
I reckon you just got to get runs on the board.
Yeah.
I think with the Babble podcast, as much as it kind of sucked that I didn't hit a home run with that first attempt at a podcast, without that, I wouldn't have learned what worked and what didn't. When I look back at some of the work I did on the living room, it's so bad. It is appalling. How that made it to where I have no idea. But I think it's one of those things that it's really vulnerable to put yourself out there in media, whether it's podcast or video, when you don't feel like you're an expert on that topic or that medium. But I think it's the only way that you're going to grow and get better.
Anyone that asks me about advice for starting a show, my thing, similar to Matty, I think you got to do at least 100 episodes before you give up. That's my personal take. So, if someone wants me to be on their show, I usually won't go on their show unless I've done at least 100 episodes, because I know they're serious. Because how many people, in the early days when I started, feeling worthy of going on other people's shows to share my journey, I would do this kick-ass interview and it would never run. Any of you guys experience that?
No.
Yeah. Well, you got to be careful.
We don't get asked to be on that. You know what I mean?
You got to be careful. You got to be careful. Now you know, right?
Yeah.
So because it's a cool thing, right? So people are like, "Oh, can you come on my show?" And then they never launch it, right? So I think there's a lot of podcasts that never get launched. There's a lot of podcasts that people usually give up after a certain period of time. So if you're actually serious and you really want to do it and you really want to make it somewhat of a career, I think you got to do at least 100 episodes.
Yeah, great advice. Cords?
In my world of media, I think collaborate. I think traditional media, from what I've seen, arriving late into it, it was a dog-eat-dog kind of world that they tried to make, especially in the TV presenter world. It was be friends and then backstab them for the job. That was kind of the world that they wanted to create. And I think everyone's having success now in this new form of social media. Just look at the platforms. They encourage collaboration. I've got 10K followers, you got 10K followers. Let's collaborate on a video and we can both grow. YouTube now has collaboration feature, right? Between 2 pages. That's the way the world's going. So don't be selfish. Don't try and do everything on your own. Reach out to like-minded people that are at that same stage in their career and just work together. Find common ground, and you'll be surprised how quick you'll grow if you collab.
To wrap up, guys, we're going to try a little segment called Past, Present, Future. So what would your present self say to your past self or your future self? You can do one or both.
There's that saying of when's the best time to plant a tree? It's 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And the second best time is now. I would look back at young Matty and I'm like, man, 8, 9 years ago, as soon as I dip my foot into the world of media, I wish I'd started a podcast. Back then, it's a bit like AI now. Like I feel like I'm reacting to AI in the same way that I was reacting to podcasts, where I was like, this thing ain't got no legs. I think, not being afraid to try new products.
Not to care what other people think. I didn't have any background in media or ever started any business before or knew anything about entrepreneurship. And I always felt like a pretty big fraud because I was, interviewing successful people around how they built a business, and then that ended up becoming my business just by chance. And I really cared about that, and I had a pretty big chip on my shoulder to the point that I had to go and launch another business, make that successful until I actually felt worthy to actually talk about business and be qualified. And I think, similar to yourself, if I had have known that and been not afraid to put myself out there more and not hide behind the company, my journey would have been, I think, more fast-tracked, and I would have, had a much larger presence and personal brand and following and all those other things. So, yeah.
I would say to enjoy it more. Some awesome experiences that when I look back now or talk about it with people, they go, that's awesome. Like, that's so cool. I wish and I'm like, yeah, that was really cool. But in the moment, I was focusing so much maybe on what was next or what am I going to do after this or how am I going to turn this into something bigger. And sometimes I lived out some really cool jobs, even over internationally. And I probably didn't live in the moment as much as I should have and actually enjoyed it with the people that I was working with who I now don't work with anymore, So I think my advice would be like, yeah, of course, have your planning nights, have your planning stages. But when you're in a job and a really cool job and you're doing what you love doing, like take that moment to really enjoy it.
Celebrate the wins.
Celebrate it. Yeah, absolutely. We don't do enough of it.
I love that. There's that saying that like someone else wants to be where you are right now.
Absolutely.
Guys, thank you so much. This has been such a great, insightful chat with you all, and I can't wait to see what you guys do next.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.